So this diagram shows there's only 28 topics throughout all of Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. Now, these are the content ones, and you'll see here in the bottom, there's the skills ones. So there's content and there's skills. Now these working scientifically assessments, they are what they are, but they only assess, they give you an idea of how your students are doing, but only for these skills. Now these skills down here, these working scientifically ones, are important, but as it is, the only tools you have to assess are for these. You haven't been given any tools to assess these ones. As you can imagine, that's problematic, isn't it? Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when teachers are going through Hamilton or doing whatever they're doing, stuff on Twinkle, whatever, it doesn't really matter. As long as when they're doing, like for example, this unit, there's only 3 standards. Every lesson they're doing is kind of supporting one of these. And how do they know if the work in their book is actually expected standard or not? You know, because they can do some stuff, but I think it's okay, but how is it any good? Is it rubbish? I don't know. I have something for you that is going to help. Now, this is really cool, and I'm very excited about this.
Wow.
And I haven't shared this with around the system yet. You're just like the first.
Good.
Except for Miss on Little Cayman, who started this morning. You see this big watch papers? I see your faces.
More
they go,
papers.
oh!
More
Do
papers.
not worry. Relax. Just relax. Because you will not be using all of these at once, at all. What these are, is remember there's 28 of these units?
Mm-hmm.
There's 28 of these packs.
Okay. So
Right.
each class.
Right. No. So at any given time, a teacher only has to worry about one of these packs. Now, this is really cool. Let's look at one, for example. Let's say Everyday Materials Year 1, for example. Everyday Materials Year 1, what are they learning about? There's 3 things they're doing, 4 things. Distinguish between objects and the materials level. There's a few different objectives. What this is, first it gives us the background to worry about that. This is just la 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 la. Here are the statements. These are the 4 things that they're going to be learning about. Okay, so anything they do is going to work towards one of these 4 different statements. Sometimes it's even less than that. But this is the cool thing. What this is real student work in the UK that's been moderated. So you see sometimes it's photographs of the kids doing things, and when you see green, that's the things the kids have said.
Is this similar to the side?
This is what I showed you, but I've got them together. But I want to show you how you can actually use this. So year 1's tricky because they're not doing very much writing in year 1, but you can see this is the level of work that you can expect a year 1 to do. And if they can do something like what you see here, in these examples, the black is describing what they're doing, and then when it's in red, that shows how they've met that target or not. So the red is commentary about whether this is further evidence that Tamid is secure with the national curriculum statements, but he benefit from exploring rigid plastics. So this is real, actual moderated work. So what this allows teachers to do is I can look at my work, I can look at this work, and I can see, is my work similar or better or worse
So what
than
will
what this kid's
that
doing?
one be working towards? Or
No, this is
expected?
secure. That's
Secure?
expected.
Okay.
So this is when you realize
How
it's
do you
not
know
just
that?
No.
These are moderated.
What he has said is that this is work that has already been moderated. So they are like exemplars. So we use them
How
as a
about
guide.
if
As a
for you it's
baseline.
not really that as good as you think it
well,
should
if
be?
a student of yours isn't, you know, this is not exhaustive, but this is good examples of what they've done. So this is showing what they've done. So in the blue is talking about the skills. The red is talking about the
What they know.
the standards, the content. So tell me, just key vocabulary absorbent in his prediction. This is where the student said something, a teacher wrote it on the board. So here, Tamid refers to 2 properties of cotton wool when he's selecting his most appropriate material. What's the best bedding for use for animals? Why? We use a cotton wool because it is absorbent and it is soft for the bed. So he says it's soft and absorbent. You look at this, that doesn't look amazing, but remember he's a year 1, and this is telling me what standard is.
Saying, yes. Okay, so all those examples that are there are expected. All those examples here, those are expected levels.
Correct.
Okay.
Now remember in the UK they don't have greater depth.
Okay.
In the UK, it's a threshold arrangement. So you're either at the threshold, you either cross the threshold or you don't. So the statements here, when I say I'm playing it, what the skill is and the statements about it, if they can do the statement reliably, that means they can do it over and over again. And independently, that means they're independent. That means that they're at expected level.
Yeah, expected
That's what it means. It's a threshold.
They're working at.
That means they're working at. And if they can't do it on their own, for example, they need a little bit of help, or they're not quite there yet, or they can't do it every single time, working towards. And if they can do it and show it different ways, so say it's a skill, something to do with like presenting data, but they can present it in the graph like this, and another graph would do all kinds of different ways of showing it, and different approaches towards it, that you might consider greater depth. Okay, so generally speaking, this gives you a baseline to see what. So teachers can use this to realize when they look at their own work, their books are the assessment, and they can use this to find out, is the work in my students' books expected, working towards, whatever, because they have a baseline to compare against. And I think that'll be very helpful for your teachers. Let's look at here's a year 4 one.
So we keep these like in a binder.
Well, they're on your teacher community.
In this form?
In this form. Okay. PDFs.
Okay.
PDFs. But I think as science leaders, I was going to give each of you guys a full set.
Oh,
and luckily, because you're small enough, you're only a single entry schools, I want you guys as science leaders to hold on to these, but what you can do is when any given teacher is doing a certain unit, you can lend that particular, wazoo stuff out to the teacher.
I wonder if we can laminate that.
Why?
I mean, because they're just...
Because they're nice, but they're not. There are documents at the end of the day, So here's a year 4 one. So year 4, they're doing a little bit more of their own writing. So here's some classifying different ways. Here's doing something with Venn diagrams. So China groups living things in a variety of ways. Boom. This is evidence of that standard. Right here, they've done something about looks like they've done a key. China asks a range of questions to help her identify the animal. So which is one of the outcomes in this particular unit. So it's showing examples of using a visualizer. Teachers showed the children how to use straws, to build a classification key. Then they practiced in groups. So it shows some examples of ways that they've actually made it. Well, they don't necessarily have to take pictures. This is the books. So if your kids have things like this in their books, this shows that that's okay. And you notice this work is not super beautiful. It's not like like Mona Lisa kind of thing. But it's real. And it's real for expected standard. And I think that's actually quite powerful to see that, this expected standard stuff is not like, it's real.
That's what happened, during like the first term when you're using this new curriculum and new things. So you were like, oh my gosh.
Well, people are very hesitant to give a judgment to this stuff. It's like saying how long is a piece of...
in the standard things.
It's like saying how long is a piece of string, because you have nothing to compare it against.
That's right.
So when I went to the UK, that's when I got these things. And I think this is the kind of stuff, I think this will help teachers, because as I said, we have some tools to assess these skills. But you don't yet have tools to assess these 28 things, and now you do. Yeah. But remember, all these allows teachers to see this is what expected looks like. Every single one of these little blotches.
Sorry, because you said you highlighted that there are 28.
There are 28
content area.
Correct.
Right.
Because years 1 and 2 have 4.
Yeah, every class.
And the others has 5. So obviously.
So this is for the living things.
Right. So this is year 4. These are the year 4 statements, and then this is some of the work the kids have done. Remember, what's in red is commenting on how it meets the criteria.
So this one doesn't have the matters and sounds.
Matters and sounds. Sound is here. Sound's another one.
It should be there because
it's another one.
There are 28.
Yeah.
It covers each area.
Right. So for example, you're doing sound right now. Here's your states and matter one. It's a nice thick one. Now remember, in the order that we're teaching things, and I put together those documents, the order, sometimes you're working on a single unit for more than one term, for more than one half term. For example, the matter one's humongous.
Yes,
so you do a lot. In year 4 matter, there's like tons of stuff that you do. Where is it? This one.
Yeah, it's a lot.
State everyday materials.
Yeah.
So in Hamilton, you just do 2 of these one time, you do another one another half term. So you use the same book for both those bits together, right? So for example, from now through to Easter. So here's thing, exploring solid liquids and gases, and that's Venn diagram.
I like
And this is
that.
examples of what real work
Yeah.
looks like.